using what he got to shield him. He got a lot of security guards around him, and he's in the limelight and stuff like that. But in certain situations, he wouldn't be acting like that.
Do you like him as a fighter, though?
Yeah, he's a damn good fighter.
Yeah.
But like his core personality and his way.
If the opportunity presented itself against Floyd, you would have, though, even though you admire him so much and he's so great.
Floyd, yeah, because
Terence Crawford has officially answered Floyd Mayweather's call-out, and he's not backing down. Crawford signaled he's ready to step into the ring in 2026 to finally settle the debate over who truly deserves the title of the greatest. Mayweather, who's more than a decade older, was the one to spark the challenge after growing increasingly frustrated with fans constantly comparing his legacy to Crawford's rise. Now, with both sides showing interest, what started as a heated back and forth has the potential to turn into one of the most talked about showdowns boxing has seen in years.
Canelo said he's way better than Mayweather. What do you think to that?
Who, Terence?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Of course he is.
What do you want to see?
Speaking after his latest victory, Terence Crawford didn't shy away from the question fans have been asking for years: would he fight Floyd Mayweather? With Mayweather himself pushing for the matchup, Crawford's response was clear and confident. He said that if Floyd is serious, it's not only a chance at a massive payday, but also an opportunity to share the ring with one of the sport's legends. In his words, the door is wide open, and he's ready to walk through it. That simple statement has now set the stage for what could be a generational clash.
I am now.
How do you beat Floyd, though? Like, since nobody's been able to crack that code.
You think I would tell you?
He ain't fighting anymore, so that fight ain't gonna happen.
For Floyd Mayweather, this call-out wasn't just about pleasing boxing fans, it was about defending his legacy. The pressure mounted after two of his former opponents publicly claimed that Terence Crawford might actually be the better fighter. For a man who built an undefeated career, those words struck like an insult. Canelo Alvarez, one of Mayweather's most high-profile rivals, hinted at Crawford's edge. And more recently, Shane Mosley, who went the distance with Mayweather 15 years ago, echoed that same sentiment. With his reputation suddenly under scrutiny, Mayweather decided the only way to silence the comparisons was to settle it in the ring himself.
When I looked at it, he came out in the southpaw stance and he took Canelo's jab away from him. As you know, if you take a fighter's jab away from them, then it's hard for them to really land. You force them to use one shot, and he forced them to use his backhand, his rear hand. Crawford was ready for the loop in the right hands.
In an interview with Fight Hub TV, Shane Mosley stirred the pot with a bold claim. He believes Terence "Bud" Crawford edges out Floyd Mayweather. Mosley, who once went toe-to-toe with Mayweather, didn't dismiss his former rival's skills, calling Floyd an incredibly gifted and disciplined fighter. But when pressed to compare, Mosley leaned toward Crawford, pointing out his size, reach, and ability to rise through weight classes as decisive factors. He suggested that Crawford's long arms and natural build would likely give him the advantage in a head-to-head matchup. At the same time, Mosley acknowledged that Mayweather's talent can't be overlooked, admitting it would have been a razor-close fight. Still, the veteran's words carry weight, and they only add more fuel to a debate already dividing the boxing world.
Who do you think's better out of those two? Crawford or Mayweather?
I think Crawford is better, bigger. Like he's actually he moved in weight class, and I would say Crawford is a better fight all around fighter.
Around the globe, fans and analysts are locked in heated debate. Has Terence "Bud" Crawford now secured his place as the greatest of all time? His stunning victory over Canelo Alvarez has pushed the 37-year-old back to the very top of the pound-for-pound rankings, sparking fresh comparisons to boxing's legends. What makes the conversation even more explosive is Canelo's own reaction. Before the fight, he had already hinted at Crawford's superiority. But after tasting defeat, he doubled down. In a moment that shocked the boxing world, Canelo declared at his post-fight press conference that Crawford isn't just a worthy rival, he believes Crawford is flat-out better than Floyd Mayweather himself. That single statement has reignited one of the sport's most divisive arguments and left Mayweather with little choice but to defend his throne.
And compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and tonight's bout with Terence "Bud" Crawford, if you can.
No, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
Canelo's comments hit harder than most because they come from a fighter who has faced both Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather in the ring. To make such a bold declaration immediately after a tough loss suggests one of two things: either a remarkable show of sportsmanship, or a genuine conviction that Crawford stands above the rest. His words sent shockwaves through the boxing world. Supporters of Crawford highlighted his fearless climb through multiple weight divisions, consistently taking on the toughest opponents. Mayweather's defenders, however, pointed to his flawless record and unmatched resume as proof that his place at the top remains unshaken. Crawford himself responded with calm confidence, reminding everyone that Canelo's perspective carries weight precisely because of his first-hand experience. Speaking on the Ariel Helwani show, Crawford emphasized, "Canelo has stepped into the ring with both men, so his assessment isn't just opinion, it's lived reality." That, Crawford implied, is testimony fans shouldn't dismiss.
How did that feel to hear that from someone like him?
I just was like, well, it's his personal opinion. He was in the ring with both of us, so a lot of people, they can say what they want, but he's actually been in the ring with both of us. One where he felt like he was at the best.
Was ready for the body shots. Occasionally the straight right hand to the body would land for Canelo, but sooner or later Crawford started getting out of the way of that as well by just pivoting, on an angle and making Canelo reach. There were spots inside the ring that I saw Crawford, try to counter.
At the end of the day, the Crawford-Mayweather debate may never have a definitive answer, because it's built on opinion as much as fact. What's undeniable is that both men share rare air in boxing history, undefeated records, multiple world titles across weight classes, and legacies that secure their spots as two of the greatest American fighters ever to step into the ring. Still, the conversation doesn't stop there. The real intrigue comes when you look at how each fighter built that perfect resume. Were the paths equally challenging, or did one face a tougher road than the other? That very argument was raised by Ryan Garcia during a September 10th segment of Ring Magazine's Inside the Ring, where the active star laid out why comparing the two undefeated runs is more complicated than it looks on paper.
And another where he felt like he was at a disadvantage when he had a rehydration clause and he was younger. So, I don't know, I don't go off of that. Floyd is the best fighter, in his era, and I feel like
the debate doesn't end with Crawford. Even Floyd Mayweather's standing at the very top of the sport has been challenged in recent weeks. Analyst Max Kellerman sparked fresh controversy when he argued that Manny Pacquiao, not Mayweather, deserves the #1 spot on a pound-for-pound ranking of the century's best fighters, directly contradicting ESPN's list, which placed Floyd ahead of Pacquiao. That opinion struck a nerve across the boxing world, reigniting an old rivalry on paper rather than in the ring. Adding to the pile, former NFL star LaShawn McCoy weighed in earlier this month with his own strong words. In a published article, McCoy declared, "Nobody has
changed the game like Floyd Mayweather."
He mastered the art of knowing when to fight somebody and when not to fight somebody. I mean, that he's the best in that game. He's the best in, making money and making all the, the huge fights happen. But why? Because he was timing every single one of them. He never fought nobody really in their prime. He always
after junior lightweight. Junior lightweight.
He changed the game in the worst way possible. You're right. Everybody's trying to protect their own. I had
a lot of the stuff that Canelo was doing, and that I would say this, that work from Boots helped in that aspect because Canelo was reacting to a lot of the counters that Crawford was throwing. Usually in the past, Canelo would stand right there. He would lunge and he would stay in place, keep his feet in place. However,
Crawford's recent run of dominance has forced many to revisit the sport's pecking order, and the timing could not be more striking. At 37, he's still competing at the very highest level, right as he reaches the peak of his powers, a rarity in boxing's demanding landscape. That's why voices like Max Kellerman's carry so much weight in the current debate. On his show Inside the Ring, the veteran analyst drew on decades of experience to weigh the Crawford versus Mayweather question. Kellerman acknowledged that Floyd Mayweather brings advantages that can't be ignored, a resume stacked with elite names, defensive mastery that frustrated generations of challengers, and hand speed that often left opponents frozen in place. These elements, Kellerman argued, are the hallmarks of a champion who dominated not just through talent, but through a technical brilliance that made him nearly untouchable inside the ring.
It's wild, because if you look at Floyd's resume, it's much deeper than Crawford's. And Floyd was faster and he had a better defense and all that stuff. But Floyd picked and chose when he fought guys, especially once he left lightweight. He wiped out the junior lights, bring him. Lightweight, he jumps up to Jose Luis Castillo first thing. A lot of people think he lost the first fight.
Still, Kellerman didn't let Mayweather's legacy off without scrutiny. He noted that once Floyd moved beyond the lightweight division, his choice of opponents became far more calculated. According to Kellerman, Mayweather had a habit of waiting for the right moment, sometimes catching dangerous rivals after their peak years rather than at the height of their powers. That strategy no doubt protected his perfect record, but it also raised questions about how willing he was to face every challenger on equal terms. In contrast, Crawford has built his career on a different philosophy. He's shown a consistent readiness to step in with whoever is placed in front of him, regardless of timing or risk. That fearless approach, Kellerman argued, resonates strongly with today's fans and even with other fighters, who see in Crawford a champion less concerned with protecting numbers and more committed to proving himself against the best, whenever the opportunity arises.
Then he won the rematch. But once he left lightweight, he was careful about when he fought guys. So even though his resume is deeper with names, people remember, but he didn't want it with certain dudes at certain times. Crawford, we all witnessed, even though the resume is thin in certain ways, he wanted it with every.
Kellerman laid it out plainly. On paper, Mayweather's resume is far deeper than Crawford's. Floyd not only fought more big names, but he also combined that experience with unmatched speed, flawless defensive instincts, and the ability to dictate fights on his terms. Yet, as Kellerman pointed out, once Mayweather moved beyond lightweight, he carefully managed the timing of his toughest challenges. Crawford, by contrast, has never shied away from risk. Even if some argue his resume doesn't stack up in sheer volume, the intent behind his career is clear. He's been ready to face anyone, anytime. And that kind of mentality changes how people view a fighter. To underscore his point, Kellerman compared Crawford to legends like Sugar Ray Robinson and Roy Jones Jr., names that carry weight beyond wins and losses. His argument was that Crawford has earned a level of respect among fellow fighters and analysts that transcends the numbers. It's about more than the record books, it's about a presence in the sport so powerful, it demands comparison with the greatest who ever lived.
A lot of comparisons between Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather. We even had the conversation to go as far as who would win in a fight between Terence and Floyd, and I truly don't know the answer to that question.
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Yeah. Who would win that fight?
Floyd.
Floyd would win that fight.
Yes, sir. I
Floyd
love you, Terence.
always figures it out.
Yeah,
Even with all the comparisons being made, Terence Crawford has gone out of his way not to strip Floyd Mayweather Jr. of the credit he deserves. When asked directly about their similarities, Crawford was quick to show respect. He referred to Mayweather as the king, openly praising his greatness before breaking down the nuances of their careers. Crawford explained that while they share certain traits, there's a key difference: he's willing to take more risks in the ring. He acknowledged that early in Mayweather's career, especially during the pretty boy Floyd era, Mayweather was also a fearless, seek-and-destroy fighter. But things changed as Floyd's career progressed. Injuries, particularly to his hands, altered his style and forced him to adapt, especially as he moved up in weight to face larger opponents. According to Crawford, it really depends on which version of Mayweather you're talking about, the early aggressive powerhouse, or the later, more calculated, money Mayweather, who relied on precision and defense over knockout power. As Crawford himself admitted, he and Mayweather share plenty in common. Still, that hasn't stopped fans and analysts from drawing comparisons, eager to decide who would truly come out on top. Recently, a new report even leaned toward Crawford as the more likely winner if the two ever faced off. Yet, when it comes to pure mastery of the sweet science, few names shine brighter than Floyd Mayweather Jr. His crisp jab, razor-sharp timing, and unmatched counterpunching skills allowed him to dismantle one opponent after another with surgical precision. What makes Mayweather's career even more remarkable is that he essentially lived two versions of himself: the aggressive, pretty boy who overwhelmed rivals early on, and the tactical, money Mayweather, who perfected the art of control and efficiency in the ring. Both iterations combined to build one of the most complete resumes the sport has ever seen.
Chances, excuse me, Crawford.
Right now, but earlier in his career, he was taking a lot of chances as well. So, it just depends on which Floyd Mayweather you talk about. You talk about money, or do you talk about Pretty Boy? Because Pretty Boy was the seek and destroy fighter.
Crawford himself has highlighted the contrast in Mayweather's two eras. Pretty boy Floyd was the aggressor, pressing forward and overwhelming his opponents with speed and power. Years later, Money Mayweather became the strategist, calculating, countering, and edging rivals out with sheer brilliance and control. Both versions, though vastly different, combine to create the legend that is Floyd Mayweather Jr. On the other side, fans continue to marvel at Crawford's own defining performances, especially his dismantling of Errol Spence Jr. That fight wasn't just a win, it was a statement, a showcase of dominance that left many wondering if they were witnessing a modern version of greatness to rival Mayweather's legacy.